probably know, I work for the Serverless Guru, and I met most of you guys. Well, not most of you, but some of you at at the Believe in Serverless party. So we were there. We were we were together. So my name is Almir. I'm principal developer at Serverless Guru, and I have like 20 plus years of experience in various in many areas. So I even worked as uh, from help desk to system administration and even PLC and SCADA programming for power plants and heating, ventilation, air conditioning systems, and finally got to the serverless and never looked back. So that's a little bit about me. So regarding what I prepared today, I will keep this within an hour or less, so I don't want to take anybody's time. So the interesting part, I'm going to talk about a little bit why organizations, what is AWS organizations, and how accounts are organized, what is the root account organizational units. We will touch a little bit. We will talk a little bit about the resource access manager, which is not really part of organizations, but it is used within organizations. So it's interesting to know about that. And we will talk about different types of policies. So we have service control policies, we have management policies. We'll talk briefly. We'll talk a little bit about the monitoring, and then we'll mention control tower and landing zone. What is it, and how we can utilize that? How we can provision accounts in a more convenient way, because well, we want to kill all humans. We don't want to do anything manually. We want to automate process all the way. And I will talk about the case study about the real company that I worked and where I implemented this solution, and how we utilize AWS organizations to solve the issues that we had. So let's get started. So as you all know, so when we start working with the AWS accounts, we are in need to create more than one account. So in we can obviously work with a single account, but that's not a good practice. At some point, we wanted to assign account to our developers. We want to experiment in some sandboxes that will not have access to any of our real resources, and we want maybe to separate to have account for each stage of our application, of our product. So maybe we want to have account for staging, for the production, for various testing, and even maybe audit accounts and stuff like that. But the problem is how we can manage those. So if we just have a bunch of accounts, which is the common case that I see even in some large enterprises, which are not the dev shops, which they have IT department that is just doing that is just adopting a cloud, and they are not really sure how can they organize their accounts. They are not aware that they can actually use AWS organization service, which is a part of AWS, that is a account management service that enables us to consolidate all these AWS accounts um, into the single organizations. So what is AWS organization is hierarchical structure, where we can add existing or create new accounts. So we can invite external accounts to join our organization, or we can create new new organizations. So this hierarchical structure can have groups, which are called organizational units. So we can organize our accounts into the groups. And since this is hierarchical, organizational units, you can consider them as account groups. They can have sub-organizational units. They can have child organizational units, and we can expand this as much as we want. So the first thing that we need to decide when we are creating organizations is what will be our main or management account. So usually this account is the account that we initially created. So before this presentation, I actually created a brand new organization using a control tower, and I will show you that briefly as well. But this account should not be used for anything else except just to create organization. So AWS like to address this account as a break glass account. So you should never access this account unless in case of some kind of emergency. Those in public transportation or somewhere in buildings, like break a glass in case of emergency. So that's why they use the term for this account. So it is just used to create organization, and and uh, and nothing else. Later we will see how we can manage these accounts, and what are the requirements. So also, I already mentioned, so when working with multiple accounts, especially when the number of accounts is increasing, it's a good practice to separate them into the groups. So instead of like your files and the folders. So if you are not really familiar with AWS organizations, think about this as your as your files and folders. You don't want to put all your files into the single folder. You want to organize them based on some logic that you uh, that best works for you. So that being said, that there is no like rule, or uh, there is no mandatory way how you should organize your organizational unit. So AWS does not tell you, okay, these are mandatory organizational units, and this is how you should organize your work. No, there is actually a recommended way. So AWS does have recommendations, and you can refer to AWS documentation. There is a whole white paper about the organizational units. What are the recommended organizational units that you have? And when we use control tower, which I will talk briefly a little bit later, uh, when you create organization using the control tower, you can actually those organizational units are created by their recommendation. So why do we want to have accounts? I already mentioned, like in programming, we want our accounts to be simple, to have a single purpose, like a function. So you want your function to be simple, to do only one thing, and you don't want, because obviously if you want to test function that works many different things, you will have a hard time, and good luck with fixing bugs. Same things goes with the AWS accounts. So if you have single account that for multi-purpose, you sooner or later you will get in trouble. Okay, for smaller businesses, for smaller companies, for your personal accounts, you can probably get away with the single account, but that's not a good practice. And you should have purpose-based accounts, and you should organize them into AWS um, organization. So depending on the size of your organization, as I said, there is no like mandatory way. I cannot tell you, hey, these are the organizational units that you should have, and this is how you should group your accounts. No, you decide what best works for you. So there is no such a thing that you should do it this way, because what works best for me doesn't work best for you. And that is that is the same for that also applies for different businesses. So some of the businesses does require different accounts. Maybe you can have a product that works on a single account, but maybe your product work on multiple accounts, maybe works across multiple organizational units. And why these organizational units are also important, we will talk about that when we mention service control control policies. But before that, there is a one interesting also service that I want to mention. when you are working with multiple the multiple accounts, and that is this resource access manager, or RAM. So this is the service that allows you to share your resources across the accounts. Not all resources are supported. So there are some resources that this service does not support, but it at the beginning it was really a small number of the services, but it is evolving. So what is interesting? So it can be used without AWS organizations. You don't need AWS organizations to use this, but the real power comes if you are using AWS organizations. So if you have organizational units, we can specify which organizational units can use given resource. So we can use resource access manager to share these resources across organizational units. So this is where these groups comes into the place. Like identity access management. If you have users, you don't want to create a policy for each user. You want to create groups. You want to create roles. You want to organize it somehow and reuse stuff that you already have. So if you create a VPC and if you create subnet, for example, you can use resource access manager to share that subnet with the another account. So the important thing, this is not going to copy resources across the accounts. It will literally share the account, and your subnet, which is in one account, can be used in several accounts. And this was also lifesaver for us because it simplified infrastructure in the startup that I was mentioning, which is actually a successful company right now. So we had many issues with the cross account resource sharing, and this was at some point this was this was a lifesaver for us. So speaking about the organizational units. So hopefully you do see my presentation, right? I'm sharing the right tab.
Yeah, we can see the
Yes.
presentation.
Oh, okay, perfect. So speaking about the organizational units and organizing your accounts. So you can apply the great thing about it's not just about fancy way to see your accounts in a folder like structure in some hierarchy to expand and see, the great thing about that is actually that you can apply policies. And there are two types of policies that you can apply. So there are management policies, and there are service control policies. So I should probably first talk about this. Even I mixed up the slides, but I should probably first talk about the service control policies. So for those who are not really familiar with this, these are different than identity and resource policies. So they do not provide access to certain resources. Actually, they are setting permission boundaries. So these are the maximum policies that you can assign to your users or resources within the account. So what does this mean? So if your service control policy does not allow access to EC2, for example, even though if your user on AWS account, which is a member of your organization, has access to EC2, service control policy will not allow it, so it will be denied. So doesn't matter what kind of permissions your user does have on the account. If it's managed by the organization, a service control policy applies. So this is the great thing to limit which policy which permissions, which policies can you assign to your users and to resources. You cannot use service control policies outside of the organization. So unlike resource access manager, which can give you an option to which gives you an option to share resources across the accounts, even if they are not member of the organization, you can share resources, but service control policies applies only to your organization members, and then you can organize them and you can apply them to different organizational units. So the thing is how this is evaluated. I gave here one example. So if I am permission boundaries are present, then SCP boundary and identity policy need to allow access to the resource to be accessible. So if any of these policies is set to deny, then the resource is um, inaccessible. So in order to use service control policies, and this is one important thing, is that we must enable all features for the organization. So when you are creating an organization, doesn't matter if you're doing that using some cloud formation or some infrastructure as code tool, or if you're doing it manually, there is an option where you enable features for your organization. So if you do not enable all features, you can use organizations for consolidated billing. That is the one thing that I haven't mentioned. So all these accounts you can have consolidated billing on your management account. So if you want to use STP policies, which is probably probably something that you want and should use, you need to enable all features when creating uh, organizations. So by default, um, AWS assigns AWS full access service control policy to the root and member accounts in the organizations, meaning that you can use all the resources within those accounts. So there is a flexibility here. We can be really flexible here. So um, we can so there are two options that how we can define our policies. So we can define either allow list or deny list. So we can also apply multiple service control policies to different levels of our organizations. So if we decide to explicitly list services that can be used, we can remove AWS full access service control policy, and then we can define allow rules. Okay, these are the services that can potentially be used. This does not give access to anybody. This is important. I mentioned this several times, but this is important. So you are not assigning this permission to anybody. You're just setting the boundary and saying, okay, these are the services that can be potentially used by some service or user. So um, on the other hand, if we want to allow everything except specific services, we will leave this AWS full access STP, but then we will define deny rules and explicitly say, okay, these are the services that cannot be used. So the combination of these is combining these policies are pretty powerful. And okay, I will speed up a little bit so we don't go outside of 1 hour, because these things are really can really take lots of time, especially if we go and look into the examples. But there is one thing about the management policy. So we can centrally manage AWS services and features within the organization. So we have three types of these management policies, and so there are AI services, opt-out policies, backup policies, and tag policies. So the important thing about these management policies is that they use inheritance, so they can be inherited. So if you create on a management policy, if you activate management policy on top level, they will be inherited by organizational units, the descending um, organizational units all the way to the single accounts. And if you have multiple management policies activated, they will be merged when they are evaluated. So what are these policies? So I don't know how many of you are aware about this, but I was pretty shocked about this artificial intelligence AI opt-out policy. So if you are using AWS, if you are using AWS AI services, which is pretty trendy nowadays, and if you're training your models and you are uploading your data, by default, AWS store that data, and they are actually using it. You actually opt in to allow them to use and train their own models using your data, which is fine if you are using some public data sets, but if you're using your private data sets, some your private data, by default, those data are shared with AWS, and they are free to use it. And this was pretty shocking for me. So this is probably the policy. If you're using AI services, this is probably policy that you want to activate, to opt out. So you have to explicitly say, no, I will not allow you to use my services. So as usual, they are not saying, yeah, we want your data. They just say, yeah, we will use your data to improve our services, which is true. They will improve their services using your data, but they will not share theirs. So backup policies, um, if you are using AWS backup, so this tells AWS backup service how to backup designated AWS resources. So we can set multiple backup plans across the organizational units, and or we can apply this directly to AWS accounts. So we can have different backup plans for different organizational units, or we can explicitly uh, put this on create plan for the single AWS uh, account. And there's also tag policies, which is a great thing. We use this heavily because what this does, we can standardize tags for our resources within our organizations. So when we set the tag rules, so people we can require that our developers are tagging their resources, or otherwise their stack deployment will fail. And we can even define the shape of these tags. And when we are using services such a backup, we can really have fine grained definitions of what we want to do with our accounts. So the next thing to talk about is oops, monitoring. So the whole purpose of these AWS organizations, and to utilize these things, is actually to follow, to have well architected cloud environment. And that's the bottom line. And one of the key elements of the well architected cloud environment and well architected framework is observability and monitoring. So to do this, so we had great workshop about this, but it's good practice to have isolated accounts for your logging, so for logging purposes. So you can put again. This really depends on how you want to organize your environment, but the good practice is to actually have account which will be for logging purposes, and you will consolidate all your CloudTrail logs into that account. And if you need to check those logs, and if you need to work with them, you will go to that account and work with that account. You will export logs from there, and do whatever you need to do. But there is a one good thing about this. So within our organization, we can utilize Event Bridge to react on the critical events. So once we so so for example, so we can send critical actions to the Event Bridge, and obviously we can integrate services such as SNS or Lambda if we need notification, or if we need to execute something to automate something when certain events happens. So for example, we can well we, if there is something that we need to do after account is created. So provisioning account is a asynchronous operation, and when we provision account for, doesn't matter for what purposes, sandbox, maybe for our new developer, um, when that account is created, we want to trigger something, start something, do some stuff, whatever we need to do, maybe to notify that developer that account is ready. So we can publish the event to event bridge, and then we can use SNS just to inform those users. And obviously, if there are some critical things that are happening, we can do we can notify user. Actually, I have part of the code that I can show you. So this is actually this is an example of creating AWS organization with CDK. So also I don't know, did I mention this, but the best practice when creating AWS or when using AWS organizations is actually to have one AWS organization per your company, per your business, or however we want to call it. So if you have multiple departments, branches, whatever, organize them into the organizational units. So there is only one organization, single organization, and then multiple organizational units, and you create branches as you want them to create it. So these things are pretty straightforward. So it's just TypeScript code. This creates AWS organization, and it enables all features, and then it creates organizational units called audit environments sandboxes, and this was my choice to create those. And here is the interesting thing. So this is the policy that and so this is a service control policy. So unrelated to event bridge that I'm and the logging that I'm mentioning right now, but it is a nice example of applying service control policies. So this service control policy does not allow account to leave organization. So this is what we can apply within service control policy. One of the examples. So these are just creating the creation of the different accounts, assigning them to organizational units, and here is the event bridge. And there is a so we create event bus, and then we create a rule, account create rule, that will catch from CloudTrail when account actually is created, and we use this, and we publish this to. So we create SNS topic, and we publish this event to SNS topic, and from there, you can do whatever you want. So you have topic on SNS. So do you want to send some notification using some channel, or you can do basically whatever you want once it is here. So in my example, I'm using I'm just publishing I'm just integrating and not publishing event that account is created to SNS, and from there I'm probably notifying interested parties. So that's about the logging and event bridge. So let me just switch back to the presentation part. So the example that I just show you is using a CDK. So obviously you can create your organizations with using organizations and the organizational unit and everything you can create using CloudFormation. You can use SDK. You can do stuff that way, or you can do console. You can do stuff manually which you probably don't want to do. So the better way actually to do it is to use control tower. So control tower actually orchestrates all these services. So if you are creating these things manually, so if you're using, for example, CDK, like I did for in my exercise, you need to take care about the many things. So and it loses the purpose because again, like without AWS organizations, you have to do all the things manually. So you need to create. Um, you need to deal with various configurations, roles, and who can access what on each account, and so on and so forth. So everything you need to create manually, while with the control tower, actually, I don't know about, I don't know the number, but probably between, roughly between 15 and 20 services are orchestrated. Uh, and this gives you a really nice option to provision AWS organization and everything that you need from the console. This doesn't mean that you will work manually. So you provision. I actually before this presentation, I actually provisioned just for fun. Create a new account and provision new landing zone. And even though it says like it takes about an hour, it doesn't take that long. So what landing zone is? So when you create your when you are creating um, when you want to use control tower to manage your organization, first you need to create landing zone, and that is the container that holds all your resources that are going to be to be created. And from here you can even set up when you are provisioning when you're provisioning organization, you can even set up a single sign-on for your organization, and it will give you an option. So what this will create for you, it will create logging account and audit account. So it will create some recommended by AWS recommended organizational units, what I was mentioning at the beginning. So it will create logging account where it will consolidate your CloudTrail logs. It will create audit account within the security organizational unit, which will basically have programmatic access to all of your accounts within your organization. But it will the default rule, I think, gives access only to AWS config and probably AWS Lambda, so the security team can do their testing, but they cannot actually, even though they have a full access through these services, they cannot use other resources. They need to automate all the things. They are kind of forced to use uh, automation when they are doing their audit. So I will skip this part talking about. So I can answer your questions after the presentation on this, because control tower is a beast on its own. So to go through all the things like account factory and well, actually, regarding the account factory, I should probably mention that. Um, so account factory is very important option that you have. So as the name suggests, you can use account factory within control tower to provision new accounts. So you can just manually go into the console and create account, but the more interesting thing is actually um, using account factory for Terraform, for example. This is one of the options that you have for the automation. So you can create account templates, and there are also pre-built templates, and you can use this to automate your account creation. So probably you have several templates, several types of the accounts that you want to create. You want accounts for your developers. You want accounts for your product. You want your audit accounts, and those can all have different templates, and you don't want to create them manually each time. And you can also use Lambda. I honestly never use this option. But so I did actually create using SDK just the account, but creating everything, every other services and everything. So like having a template and provisioning it with Lambda, I never did this before, but I'm really curious. Did anyone use this option? I would really like to hear your experience regarding this. So that being said, I will move to the case study and how we utilize these all these services or components, if you want to call them that way. These services to solve the use case that we had. So first thing about multi-tenancy. So with the organizations, you can even though they are created for managing your accounts for some multi-tenancy is just a bonus, one of the things that you can solve with this. So what is multi-tenancy? That is the key concept in the software as a service. So it refers to the ability to use single instance of your application, but on some kind of subscription. So you have one installation, you're maintaining one version of your software, which is a common way nowadays. It's not the only way, obviously, but the most common way is like having the software as a service. You have some kind of subscription plan. Your users are paying and to use your software, and in the background you are managing all these things, which is pretty nice. And so within our startup, we had that same use case. So we started. I will call the software CRM, but it is AI's. But let's call it just CRM for the sake of the example. So we had pretty much the same use case. So we have software as a service, and we started selling our our subscriptions, and people really liked the product, and everything was fine. We didn't even have issues with the scaling. So multi-tenancy was resource isolation was on the account level, but at some point, what happened? We got enterprise customers. So what happened here? They were really interested in using our service, but the problem is resource isolation. So what is actually the problem? So if we don't have problem with scale, so you different for regular customers, uh, we have they don't really have like specific demands on how things works in the background, and they are not paying a lot. But when it comes to enterprise customers in the real world, they have some special requests, and there are some compliance issues depending on their business. So they want their data to be completely isolated. They want to make sure that they can eject at any point in time, and that they own their data. And if they decide to download their data, you should allow them to do that. And that is a problem when you have multi-tenancy on a single account. You can do that. So now, the problem is you can't. It's always everything is about the money, and everything is a trade-off. So you cannot. So they need guarantee that they can subscribe, pick up their data, and walk away. So to do that, the best thing to do is probably to just install software on their on premise, and there you go. Well, this software was not built for on-premise, and we didn't have resources to support that and to maintain that. And even if we did, that was not our business model. At the same time, management obviously didn't want to let those customers go. So we had to come up with the solution for them. So the way we did it, um, we actually created. Okay, let me just move the slide here. So the way we did it, we actually utilized AWS Organizations. So we didn't want to create manually account enterprise for each enterprise customer. So to isolate them completely and to assure to fulfill their request, to isolate the resources, to be completely isolated, independent, we had to create accounts for them. So the problem, again, you need to maintain multiple accounts. You need to maintain multiple accounts, and when it comes to enterprise, there are probably some drifts. You maybe need to create something special for them. But we didn't want to do it manually, so we created organizational units for the enterprises, and we created template for the enterprise account. So the whole process was automated. We still continued maintaining the staging, production, and there were several other environments for our shared infrastructure. But when it comes to the enterprise customers with the isolation, we simply just created you created additional organizational unit, and we started creating enterprise accounts there. So yeah, I speed up a little bit on this part, so I don't go over 1 hour. But oh yeah, one important thing that I forgot to mention is actually that we used also so not for our customers, not related to the multi-tenancy, but for our the developers, we use the service catalog to 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 give them a little bit of flexibility and uh, get rid of the burden of installing everything, because not every developer, depending on which part they were working, not all the teams had the same requirements for the resources and the actions. So we use service catalog to create that and let them install and provision what they need, but within the boundaries that we set with the policies. So with that, I do hope that yeah. So with that, this will be the end of my presentation. So if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer. If you are still with me.
I have a question. How are you accessing all these different accounts? Are you using Identity Center?
So yeah, Identity Center and single sign-on. So you can set permissions. So with using single sign-on and Identity Center, you can allow users to access. So it works in combination, obviously, with this, because you can give them permissions to the accounts they need to have access to, and with the permissions to that account. So when you get to the single sign-on page, and when you log in, you will get the list of the accounts that you can access to. Actually, I can.
Yeah, the accounts and the roles, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, let me just. Yeah, so I can show. Should probably look into a different account, but
Hey, Almir, I don't know if I got you understanding correctly. You started a company that does AWS account management using AI. Wait, can you hear me good?
yeah, I can hear you, but it was breaking a little bit. So you were saying your question was about AI, but I didn't hear what.
Hold on. I was asking when you said you were at a company that was doing account management using AI.
Mm-hmm.
I think you mentioned a previous startup you were at.
Actually, yeah. So the the startup actually, I was assigned. You know how we work and how we assign to a different project, and that was one of the projects where I was assigned, and the company was in that business. But it is unrelated to it is. It's really not important for this presentation about what kind of business they're in. So they could be in a pharmacy, retail, I don't know, transportation, whatever. But the concept of providing their services to external customers is what matters. So they have a service. They were selling that service by this on subscription, and the way they were managing that was a software as a service. But so yeah, there is one interesting. So this is more about using correct terminology. So I said what the software as a service is. We all know that. We all know the other thing also, but the important thing is also that you can be software as a service provider, but you can also be managed service provider. So when you are selling software on a subscription basis, uh, like usually software as a services, then that's it. But when you work with enterprises, you are in some kind of gray zone. You are more leaning toward the managed. You are more becoming managed service provider. So in this case, we were like a hybrid. So we were providing software as a service for the let's say regular customers, which were using the shared infrastructure. But enterprises, for them, we were a managed service provider. So what managed service provider is? That's a company that manages and maintains infrastructure and software for customers. So not only software. So it's kind of interesting business model as well.
On the chat there, I pasted an example of what the login screen looks like, but I think what he's saying is he's asking something different. David?
No, I'm not asking something different. I was just curious
Oh,
what
okay.
he used.
Okay. Rather
yeah,
than putting all your own account numbers on there, that's an example I found on the internet. So.
There's also a really cool command line plugin. So if you're using command line to deploy out all of your your CDK scripts to different accounts, they have a really cool single sign-on that works well on the command line to switch between all those accounts as well, just like you can in the browser with that portal, like the one he showed.
Can you paste the link? I think Benoit shared something.
Leap as well.
Yeah, there's several solutions. There's one called Granted. I think there's one called Leap. There's several of these things out there.
Yeah, okay,
I just used some aliases in Bash.
Benoit, what was the tool for provisioning
Oh,
accounts.
yeah. Org formation, you mean?
Yes.
I was going to ask about that, if you used it or not.
Yeah, never used it, and I saw it when you pasted on our Slack.
Yeah.
Me and Benoit, our colleagues, we work together, so we were discussing these things for one of our clients, and it would be interesting if you can share that tool in a link, because
Yeah, I can do that.
it might really help people, because that's something that I really want also to try out, and I haven't.
I thought it was cool. You mentioned the resource access manager. I want to look into that some more. We use Control Tower and have developer sandboxes and different environments, you know, dev
Mhm.
stage prod, all the things. But when you get to things like a database server or some of those kinds of things, and you don't really need one for every developer account, if they could share them, we never found really good ways to make them accessible. And so I'm curious to dig into that more. So thanks for the tip.
Oh, this was when I discovered this, it was a lifesaver for me. So I know the feeling. I know the feeling. I was exactly where you were right now, because especially with sharing subnets. You know, when we had to deal with the VPC stuff, and sharing, when resource access manager allowed sharing subnets, that was really something that is probably that I use the most.
Well, okay. I'm going to be that guy that says we're out of time. Almir, thank you very much for the talk. It was super informative. We'll get this one up on our YouTube channel sometime this week. And then for everybody else that's here, we have a double feature this week. We have Luke van Donkersgoed on Thursday talking about how, basically giving his story on how PostNL found success with AWS and serverless. So that'll be Thursday, same time. So thank you. Good to see everybody, and hope to see you again.
Thank you for having me, and thank you everyone. Looking forward for Thursday.